So I cannot express my excitement about this live chat. I am just freaking out. I've been reading your comments on my latest video, which went up less than an hour ago, where I talk about my theory of who the cult leader is and also where I explore what exactly is going on this season. So I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out. I know several of you have, because I've been reading and replying to all the comments as fast as I could, because this is some really good stuff. And this kind of conversation, this kind of theorizing with you guys is exactly why I wanted to start a channel, so that we could try to figure out something like American Horror Story, which is a really fun show to theorize about and try to figure out. So if you're here in the room, go ahead and say hello to me so I can give you a shout out, and I will shout out as many people as I can quickly before we get on into this chat. So hello to Danica, Diaz, Henry, Gokai, Sabrina, Philip, Archie, Marissa, Henry, Dan, Changeling, LaRon, Rob from the internet, Mish, thank you so much for being here. I feel like we have so much to talk about. Kyle, Wit is here. Wit, I have not seen you, I think, since This Is Us, which comes back next week. Anna is here. So here's the thing, and I know some people don't want to accept this, but I think that, you know, we need to accept it. What we're seeing right now with these first 3 episodes, it's not the show. It's not exactly what is going on. And I don't know if they're gonna do the show within a show kind of thing, because they did that last season, but they're definitely tricking you here. It is not this simple. It is not this easy. They're not going to lay everything out. We have only had 3 episodes. Ryan Murphy is not stupid. He's not going to lay all of this out and say, you know what, the therapist is super evil, Ivy's super evil, Kai is super evil, this is your cult, they hate these people, they're going to kill Allie or have her locked up for life, and let's wrap this up with a bow and we're done. You know, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be able to find all of that out this easy. So some of you guys have left me just excellent comments where we're thinking outside of the box. And I just don't think what we're seeing, it's not that easy. It's not surface level. So what I want to do in this chat is to start exploring outside the box, getting beyond the obvious. You know, when I first saw this season, this first episode, I was like, well, I pretty much have this figured out. And then after, you know, watching last night's episode, I was like, okay, no, this is just way too easy. We can't have it all figured out that quickly. Now, in my latest video, my theory video, I explored, would they do something like a show within a show? I would tend to say no, because we just went there, but I do think there's something else that's going to be quite the twist that's coming into that. Maybe something along that realm of thinking. We've had such an... First of all, the F word is used a lot of times in each episode, and maybe that's just American Horror Story pushing the envelope. Maybe it's not. Maybe this has to do with what else is going on here. I think it has to do with something else, because we've never seen that before, and they could have done it before now. Why is it used so much, you know? And I feel like they're pushing the envelope a little bit more with some of the sexual situations and some of the subject matter that's talked about, like the dude who was like masturbating or whatever at their house. I mean, obviously they didn't show the full frontal nudity because FX can't, but you know, that's just part of how there's extra stuff going on here. Something else to think about is we don't know who else is coming back from previous seasons who are big actors who might show up that they don't tell us about. Yeah, we know Lena's coming back. We need to talk about her in a few minutes. Not coming back, but she's in this season. We know Emma's coming back. Emma's probably going to have a lesser role this season. But there's a lot more at play here. I'm going to read some of your comments and stop talking for a second. Rob is hoping that they do not do kind of what they did last year, show within a show. You think they're playing with media portrayals of the truth with Adina Porter. Maybe they're skewing things. So cool that you mentioned Adina. Almost put her in my last video, but didn't. I'm a big Adina fan, and I don't think that they would just use her as this useless reporter. And not that reporters are useless, I don't mean that. But I definitely think that she is the person who filmed the video of Kai getting beaten up by the Hispanic guys and tried to make him look like the victim and broadcast that on the news because she's involved in this as well. So I want you guys to consider that. She is not just a random reporter who is just doing the news and whatever. And, you know, she played a pretty big role in it last night, but there's definitely more to that. Okay, Marissa says you feel so alone in thinking Ozzy is the Antichrist from Murder House and that Vincent is his father. Now, Murder House is one of my favorite seasons, and I know I haven't watched it since it first aired, but I'm having trouble remembering who this Antichrist kid was, so refresh my memory on that, because there's also that element. We know that Ryan was talking about doing a Coven Murder House crossover. Do you think it's possible that he would want to do a season where everything crossed over? And I know that everything's kind of connected within the realm of American Horror Story, but could we not have a season where literally everything is connected? And could this be it? Okay, I'm trying to... Did they show that? Okay, the Wiltons. Well, the Wiltons filmed it, okay. And yes, okay, so who are the crazy neighbors, is what Ralph is saying. And supposedly, but I mean, they're made out to look super, super crazy too. But don't you think Adina had something to do with that? I know that's not her name. Her name is Beverly on the show. Don't you think she was a part of that as far as, you know, fake news? Like, I don't know. That's what I think. Oh, the kid was Tate's son. Ah, okay. Gosh, that is so hard for me to remember, Anna. Mish says you're saying Ivy is resentful towards Allie. The Jill Stein stuff is not going anywhere. I agree with you that Ivy seems so super. I mean, I've said from the beginning, I even made a video about how she was evil. But, I mean, isn't that too easy, guys, that she's involved? I mean, it's just too easy. I'm trying to scroll back up here and see some of the comments that I missed. Mish thinks this is the most real portrayal of people in American Horror Story so far. Many people acted like this after the election. People are nasty, just need to push them there. I also see that, and I see that this kind of being a real depiction of people, and that's kind of how Ryan has promoted the show all along, but I think there's more to it. I still do. Philip says you think Allie's actually joining the cult in a few episodes because you feel like she's connected with Kai when she was in the car. So Kai is definitely trying to be her friend. But here's the thing. We still don't know, and it's okay because it's early on, but why do all these people care about Allie? Why do they want to harass Allie? Is it just because she has money? I think Ralph mentioned that in a comment. They're trying to get her business and her money, and that's what's up? Or is there something else going on here? Ralph says if Bev is involved, she's media control for the cult, and I definitely think so. I think she's kind of, you know, their inside track with the media. Changeling's also wondering about Kai being the now grown-up version of the child from season 1. Okay. Alexa, thank you so much for being here. I'm kind of missing some comments because there's so many. So listen, I'm not trying to ignore anyone, but if I have missed your comment, just try to re-comment it because there's just too many to keep scrolling back. The Nerd in the Muffin, who commented on my video recently, thank you, says, you don't think that he could be the Antichrist? I think you're talking about Oz. It would make no sense because at the end of Murder House, it jumped 3 years with Constance mothering Michael, the child, so the timelines wouldn't make sense. There is some, you know, debate about, I think they tried to make it an issue of like who is Kai's or who is Oz's, you know, real parents, and I kind of feel like that will be relevant in some way. I'm not trying to say that he's connected to the murder house, but remember, that's somewhat of importance. Rob says Allie's therapist is so clearly in on the cult. Right, that's just over the top obvious. You see him as one of the clowns, especially after the coffin scene. Well, he definitely knew that those were his clients who had, or the woman was his client who had issues about coffins. So Alexa says she's part of the cult, probably. I'm not sure who we're talking about here. But Winter is so weird. She's like, oh, I let the stranger in the house. Hope that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. There's a lot of very funny moments in the show that, like, the neighbors are so funny, like, in a wrong way. Changeling says, what if each member is supposed to represent a member in the Trump administration? I don't know if they want to mirror it that closely after real-life politics. I feel like we've kind of gotten away from, like, Trump and Hillary, even though Jill Stein was brought up. I don't know. Yeah, tell it to the Native Americans. Like, the neighbors are great. They're just absolutely hilarious. I don't think that Meadow is dead either, thankfully, because I need more of her. Wit Dog says they are spending a lot of time killing people around her and torturing her. If it's just about money, it seems way more personal. I agree. So I feel like we haven't figured out that connection yet, and maybe it's not possible to figure out the connection, but she's just basically, everyone is revolving around her, and what is the deal with that? You know, that's probably going to be a huge part to understanding this season. Alexa says, you have a feeling that the huge plot twist is coming soon. Emma is back. Yes, of course, I love Emma. I don't know if she's going to be a big character this season. I mean, I guess she could be, but maybe not. Philip says they're keeping Winter just because Ivy tries to come up with an explanation for everything. She's definitely in on it. Right. I mean, obviously, she doesn't want to let go of Winter, even though most sane people would have by now. Mish can totally see Oz's real parents come get him after all this press around Allie. So, I mean, we don't know. We don't know if one of his moms actually gave birth to him, if he was adopted, if his dad is someone within the show that we know. Is his dad the therapist? You know, I don't know. Black Mamba says the therapist's office is wiretapped or something. It's too obvious. Right. I mean, if it's as obvious, if the revelations with this season end up being the stuff that all of us have already figured out, that the therapist is, the devil basically, and that, Ivy is in on it and all this stuff, then this show gets a 2 out of 10 for me, because I mean, has Ryan given up? I don't know. I mean, I'm really going to be highly disappointed if Ryan and Brad have given away the whole show in episode 1, because essentially if you watch episode 1, you can come up with those theories, so it's like, if that is all that's going on here, why the heck are we still watching? Because the only piece that we don't have is, why are they targeting Allie, I definitely think Meadow is alive. And as far as the blood and everything that was all over her husband, I just think that's fake. Hi, Stacey Stomas. Thank you so much for being here. Datsun says they're almost certainly trying to throw us off. I mean, to me, it is so over-the-top obvious. And it reminds me of Roanoke, where the acting from very good actors was way off. I mean, the acting was insane, and it was like, what? There's got to be something going on here. Of course, last season he told us something was going on. There's going to be the twist, which he probably didn't have to do that. It might have been better if he didn't. This season, they're not saying that. So Marissa says, which house was Ozzy in when they showed the blood all over? I was a little bit confused by that, and I was thinking it was his house, but was it the neighbor's house? I don't know, because we know that Billy Eichner, what is his name on here? I can't remember. Meadows' husband had the blood all over him, which I feel like was fake. Gokai saying it's their own house. I feel like that was their own house. That's the impression that I was getting. Hi, Dominic. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued by this season, and I know a lot of people did not like Roanoke, but I really, really liked it, and I liked the twist and everything. The only thing I didn't love about Roanoke was the finale, which I kind of felt was just all over the place and didn't really fit with anything we had watched before. But I think this season could possibly be one of my favorites if they don't go with everything that we learned in episode 1 and make that the entire, plot for the whole episode. I mean, we need to talk about Lena Dunham, because Lena Dunham is playing a character who is an actual real life person who was the murderer of Andy Warhol. So at this point, I don't know what episode she comes in. Maybe you guys do. But at this point, what the heck? What does that have to do with anything that we've seen so far? So to me, that gives me an idea, quite possibly, that there will be more going on, more twists and turns that lead us to her even being like, why is this woman a character in this season? I have no idea, because it's nothing to do with clowns, and like, why the heck is she in this? Datsun says that yes, I did. I tweeted about the CW thing. Yes. Mish says, what if the first half of the season was all a campaign ad? I mean, I think there's something here. I just really do. I know that people are hesitant to believe that there's something going on beyond what he's giving us was the surface level here, but something's up. Changeling says Lena may be the clown mask girl that was leaning on the coffin, but I don't understand, she could definitely be, but I don't understand why they're tying in a real life person who is a murderer from the past into the season. I mean, if Lena was just in the season, sure, who knows who she's playing, but we know who she's playing, that's what I'm saying. We know who she's playing, and right now, it doesn't fit with any of this stuff, okay? Stacey says one of your friends said Kai is a Manson-type character. If you remember, Season 1, Murder House, we had, which I thought was one of the more disturbing scenes, we had the Manson murders. Now, if we're bringing back, you know, that ties us back to Murder House when we have someone who is a famous murderer, a murderer of a famous person, Lena Dunham's character. You know, I'm almost getting like a Murder House vibe when we're bringing that back into this season. So I don't know if we're seriously connecting everything into one season here or if they're just loosely connecting because we've already had Twisty, you know, are they just kind of loosely connecting because we know that every season is connected, not in an overpowering way, but they like to intertwine every season. Hi, Fred. Thank you so much for being here. Ralph says Emma is supposed to play a newspaper reporter. Yes, I remember reading that. So I don't know if she's going to be super relevant this season, if she's going to be part of the fake news with the, you know, kind of the newspaper version of Beverly. She may be connected to the cult and they're feeding her whatever their agenda is to get in the papers. Gokai says, you think it was Winter who showed that uploaded video of Winter touching Allie in the bath to Ozzy. She's malicious. Well, there's definitely someone who has put cameras up in their house and everything. Wit says, why did Allie throw up on the sidewalk? She had time to simply move out of the way. Yeah, so Sarah Paulson, I felt, was very off last season in the first half. She was so overdramatic. We know Sarah is like an excellent actress. And I'm almost getting vibes again from Sarah. It's like, you're trying really hard. Like, she's trying so hard to sell the crazy Allie thing. I read a theory, and I can't remember who wrote it. I just read it on my last video that I thought was really, really genius. And I don't know if you're here in the room, let me know because I just cannot remember. I read it right before coming into the chat. And this person thought that Allie was the cult leader, which I really like. And I remember telling someone a little bit earlier today that there's going to be some sort of twist. And normally when I'm looking for a big twist in a show, I look at the people who are the most innocent, who people would never, you know, suspect. And when I was thinking of that, the only person I thought of was Allie. But it's like everything's happening to Allie. And how could it be that she is evil? And I really thought it was interesting that someone thought that she was the cult leader and that this is all kind of a game. And they kind of alluded to Fight Club, which I've actually never seen that movie, so I would have to Google for that to make sense, but they were saying it was like Fight Club in a way. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you guys, but I thought it was an interesting take on it. Ralph says the cult is setting up Allie and Ivy for a murder-suicide. I've also had those thoughts before because we know that's what supposedly happened to the neighbors, the guy who was the council member. We know that's not what happened, but T. Colk says Ozzy is behind everything. I think I told you guys my parents are pretty cool and they actually watch the show, and my mom has already said Oz is like the bad guy. Like she thinks he's the one that's behind everything, which would be kind of a cool twist if you think about it. And I kind of like that. So that's something interesting to explore. Actually really kind of like that a lot. So I don't know if you were being funny when you said that, but I'm kind of into that. I don't know. Layden says, what if all of this is a punishment towards Allie like the Black Mirror episode? Oh, I'm not going to say too much about that. I know what episode you're talking about. I know some people haven't seen all of Black Mirror, so I won't spoil that, but that's good stuff. That is really good thinking. Fred says, you doubt that Ivy is part of the cult. When she was talking to the therapist, it didn't seem like they both knew each other from the cult. We know that the therapist is definitely part of the cult. So there's that. Matt was one of the people with some really cool thoughts on my video recently. He's got the show within the show. What if American Horror Story was a show within the show? Microwaving the Pet was a nod to Hayden in season 1. Dr. Vincent is similar to Dr. Thredson. This just kind of gives me chills thinking about this. Then there's Twisty. Maybe the cult are crazed American Horror Story fans. It's crazy, but I could see Ryan going there. The only thing is, I don't know if they would want to be so similar to last season in the same like right after last season. Like, do we want to go there? Is that going to make the show look stupid in a way if we're going to have like 2 seasons back to back with very similar twists? I don't know. Marissa says, you said something along the lines of her over-exaggerating and screaming is because she's throwing a decoy of sorts. I'm totally behind that. Dadson thinks Winter is grooming Ozzy to kind of become the next psychotic cult leader like Kai. I've definitely thought about that. Or is it that he is already evil? Now think about that because remember he was doing some weird drawings of like murders, I think involving Twisty at the beginning. And he seems like super innocent. And at the end of the day, come on, he's a kid. He probably is. but it's a very good thing. I think it's a very interesting thing to explore. I've always been intrigued by the movies. I think Marissa mentioned Damien, which is a very old school movie about the devil's child. But movies where kids are evil are very creepy to me. So I could definitely get behind Oz being a bad kid, and I'm into that. Mateo says maybe Ozzy is the child from Murder House. I think that's Marissa was also having those same thoughts. Ralph says microwaving Genny was a nod to urban legends. I think you're talking about the movie, right? Which I don't really remember, but I have seen it. Dadson's wondering if this is like a White Bear situation, and White Bear was the Black Mirror episode that was mentioned earlier. I do hate when animals are killed, Callie. I agree. I mean, thankfully it's fake, but anyway. I knew that Genny was not going to make it, though. I think we all knew that. Diaz was doing Scream comics when you were in elementary. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that anybody who draws horror drawings, which actually reminds me of something going on in Scream, this series, and they automatically thought whoever it was the killer. I think it was Gustavo. Sorry, I'm on another tangent here. Just because you're into, I'm seriously into horror and serial killers and all of that. I'm not killing anybody. I don't want to kill anybody. So it's a stereotype in a way. You know, I've been into horror since I was a kid. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're evil or that you're going to grow up and kill people or whatever. But if you're on a show about murder and such, it just might mean that, you know. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for being here. Gokai says someone has a theory about Ozzy becoming twisty in the future. That's interesting. I like it. And so people are also saying, like Datsun, that the timeline is just not right for Ozzy to be, he's not at the right age to be the murder house kid. Marissa says they aren't using clowns to torture Allie, though. They're using almost every phobia. They have had the clowns bother her, like, right before she killed that Pedro guy, right? What do you think about that, though? Urban Legends, they microwaved Michael Rosenbaum's dog. Jennifer says you used to watch 18-rated movies, R-rated, when you were like 7 and 10. I totally did because my dad was a big horror fan, is a big horror fan. And I've been watching them since I was like 5. No joke. But it didn't make me grow up to be a killer. It just made me grow up to be obsessed with horror shows like I am. So, you know, like I'm saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that Oz is a killer, will be a killer. But a lot of times when you're on a show and you have that obsession as a kid, they're alluding to that. In real life, I would say not always, you know. Archie says the timeline isn't right for him to be twisty. I mean, I would think not, but I don't know. Layden says, do I think instead of a Halloween episode, there will be a creepy Christmas episode? Oh, that would be cool. Will this series still be on in December, though? Don't you think we'll be done? Because it started pretty early this season. Unless they're going to just have, like, Christmas within the show, but not Christmas in our time. Marissa thinks they're using clowns, but not only clowns. They're using everything from the holes and pets to the dark and such to fuel her extreme response and make her appear crazy. Which, yes, I agree with you, but I also think that's, like, kind of in the obvious realm, and it's like, I feel like there has to be more. Yeah, it was disturbing when the guinea pig died, absolutely. Dadson says you watch horror all the time. You watched The Conjuring today, and it reminded you of Roanoke. Matt is saying November 10th is the last episode of this, so we're going to wrap this up way before Christmas. Again, I don't know if there's something out there talking about, like, a Christmas episode, or if that was just kind of an idea of someone's. But they could have Christmas within the show. I mean, I don't know. Mateo wants to know what Winter's motives are, which is, yeah, definitely. She seems kind of like indebted to Kai, you know. Archie says Ozzy has seen multiple deaths in the computer in real life. This could set him up to be a killer in the future. And I totally can see that. I see it going there. Yes, Marissa does have good theories. Alexis says, remember when Vivian's dog was killed in the same way in season 1? Right, and someone else has just mentioned that, or a couple people have. I was once a cow says, can you figure out who is each clown? I know each one is a main character we already know. So last night in the coffin scene, there were quite a few girl clowns, apparently. It appeared that way. Doesn't mean they were women. Could be guys dressing up as women. So we have to think about that as well. But it definitely, to me, it seemed like there were a few girl clowns that we hadn't seen before. there's a lot of clowns. Now, if we're going to assume that all of the clowns are people we know, then we're missing some people. So that's why I say, and why I said in my theory video, that some of the people from previous seasons who could be big name people could be some of these clowns. So let's not think that everybody is just some random, or that everyone is Kai, the therapist, you know, the obvious. So we have to think about it from that. It was probably, you know what I mean? Think a little outside the box here. Mish thinks that Oz is definitely Ivy's son. He seems more comfortable with her than Allie. Callie says, what if the guinea pig is the mastermind of the cult? Well, since it's dead now, I don't know how useful it will be. Jennifer says, do I think Winter's motive is to work with Kai in the cult, so he is trying to turn Ozzy into a crazy person dedicated to the cult? The more people, the better. I mean, I see that. Definitely can see that happening. Chan says, it makes sense if Allie is the leader, but also maybe the clowns are dead because of Twisty. Well, I mean, if we want to go the way of Allie being the leader of the cult, then what exactly is going on? Again, I haven't seen Fight Club, so I'm not really sure how... When she's being supposedly terrorized by all these people, is that really happening? Is she actually in an asylum and imagining these things? Philip, yes, I am one of the clowns. And now you know, and you're not, I wasn't supposed to say anything because Ryan Murphy will kill me, but just don't tell anyone. And be really surprised when I pull off the clown mask, okay? I'm a mime as well, yes. Because I have the mime shirt on. Layden says, you were thinking Christmas in the show since there wasn't any way they could do Halloween unless they do a time jump, okay? Mateo says, maybe Winter is in the Manson family. It's been confirmed Evan is playing Charles Manson. In this season, Evan is playing Charles Manson? So that confuses the heck out of me. What? He's playing two characters here? Like, is he, I don't get that. Is he Kai? And we've already had Charles Manson depicted in season 1 as well. Well, Chanel 3 was Charles Manson's daughter from Scream Queens. So I don't know if we're going to, transpose, shows like that. I don't know. Even though that's a Ryan Murphy show. Wit Dog is hoping that Lily Rabe will be back. I've had some people ask me if I think she'll be back. I've had some people ask about Angela Bassett, Lady Gaga. Marissa wonders if Meadow is really dead. I definitely don't think she is. I think all of that was kind of like a farce. The Nerd in the Muffin thinks that there's an article in which said he will be a mix of 6 cult leaders. So, see, that's some stuff that we haven't gotten to yet. So that's kind of proof that there's more stuff going on. And I would just be careful what you look into, because someone told me that there are some like screen captures that could possibly be spoilers. So if you start exploring too much about the future episodes, you might run into some screen captures that you don't want to see. So I always try to be very careful when Googling these types of shows, even though this is not based on a book or anything. Sometimes stuff gets out there, so be careful. Matt says, you think Adina Porter, who plays Beverly Hope, is also in the cult. Completely agree with you. Talked about that just a little bit earlier. She's always first at the scene, unless the town just doesn't have any other reporters. See, they do have another reporter who is Emma, who's probably definitely in on it too, but she just works for the newspaper. Changeling says, 2 of the cult leaders are Charles Manson and Jim Jones. So I don't know how these cult leaders, even though obviously this is called cult, but where did the real life cult leaders play into this season, and how and why? And we're not there yet, because those 2 cult leaders don't have anything to do with clowns. So how is all that playing out, These are all some really great thoughts. Oh, okay, so Emma is only in 1 episode, supposedly. So, like I was thinking, I think she only has a pretty small role this season. Marissa thinks that every season so far has had a cryptic historical figure in it, so Googling real cults may give some good ideas as to what is happening. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that definitely you can track it back to season 1, and I think season 2 is sort of based on some real life stuff. So Misha's asking a good question that we haven't addressed, and that's about the chemical trucks. Obviously, the chemicals are so strong that they are making Allie pass out, and the person who was spraying it had like the smiley face mask. So my other question is, what is the deal with the smiley faces in correlation with the clowns? And what do you think is going on with the chemicals from the truck? What's up with that? What was up with the dead birds in the yard of Allie and Ivy? A lot of different themes, a lot of things carrying, playing into this when you really start thinking about it. Mateo doesn't think clowns are part of the cult. Changeling says most likely the fact that they drew in people who thought the world had given up on them and that these cult leaders like Manson can give them hope again. Dadson says it doesn't really seem like a cult so far. A cult is usually religious and worships something. Manson's cult I don't think was religious, but he was just like recruiting people who needed to find a purpose in life or something. So right now we don't really know what is the underlying, what is the overall purpose of that cult, because we don't really know who's in it as much as we can assume based on the crazy obvious clues. But we don't know. We don't know what their mission is, you know. But I think that this chemical truck is a big deal, and that's one part I don't really know what is going on with that, but that's something. And they sprayed like the entire yard of Allie and Ivy. Marissa says, in reality, there's a killer called the Smiley Face Murderers, and I wonder if it'll play off of that. I don't know anything about that, actually, but I may look into that. Do I think the smoke alters people's mindset and turns them into the hive mindset? I think that the chemicals are definitely, I don't know if they're hallucinogenic or what. Jennifer says when you were watching the chemical gas being spread, it reminded you of the theory of the smoke lines from planes in the air. People think it's chemical trails and they might be touching on it. Yeah, that to me I can't answer because I just don't know where they're going with that yet. The Nerd in the Muffin says maybe the cult worships the devil we saw in Sister Mary Eunice in Asylum. And I think it was interesting because Marissa also mentioned Asylum when we were talking about the therapist wanting to send Allie off somewhere. We know Sarah had a huge role in the Asylum season. Wit says smiley faces seem to often be a tag signature for evil people stuff in many shows and movies. If you're watching Mr. Mercedes, which I think 5 people are, it's a very big theme in that show about a killer. Archie says the smiley face could be Hillary supporters and the clowns Trump supporters. Yeah, I don't know how much they want to hook in Hillary and Donald into the rest of the season and, you know, really hone in on them. They really did in the first episode, so I don't know. And the chemicals could be just fears. Maybe there is really nothing to that gas. Maybe it's fake. Maybe Allie's not really passing out from that. She just thinks she's inhaling something deadly, so she's passing out. Apparently, there's a teaser out there, says E. Callie, which was a clown with chemicals. So these are some really, really, really great thoughts so far, and a lot of them, and we're definitely thinking outside of the clues that have just been handed to us, basically on a silver platter. So I am really enjoying your thoughts. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that we need to mention, or anything you've thought of that we haven't said here or hasn't been discussed or read that I've read here? Dadson says maybe Kai and Winter are working together but a part of different cults, trying to use both cults to accomplish something completely different. And I know maybe, I think you said this on my video from yesterday, and a couple other people did. And that's a good thought, like wondering if we are working with more than one cult here, that not everyone is working together. Is Kai working with the therapist, or are they like 2 separate entities, or is something else totally different going on? You know, that's a question. But I think we can all agree that the detective is definitely in on whatever's going on. But again, looking at that and the clues about the detective are very surface level obvious, which I'm hoping we're not going with the surface level obvious stuff this season. He's definitely just in on it, you know. I mean, they're all in on it pretty much. The only person that from the surface looks like who isn't in on it is Allie, because she's the target. So we also have the bees theme, which, what exactly does that mean besides the fact to exploit another fear of Allie's? And we know we can definitely correlate bees and hive mentality to cults, but is there more to that, you know? So Marissa says you wondered last night if the detective was gay and they killed Meadow to make... Well, I definitely got the vibe, because I think Meadow was even kind of jealous of him, and she thought, like, since he was hanging around, there maybe something was going down with him and her husband. So I really do think they wanted us to think that they were hooking up, or they were going to get together, or whatever. That's kind of what I was thinking as well. Stacy says there may be a serial killer operating underneath all of the chaos, which is interesting, and that could totally be. And are we going to see Frances Conroy? We are. We know that she is coming back this season, and the Nerd and the Muffin's talking about that. Could be the leader of the cult. Was that you that said that on my video? Someone definitely pinned her as the leader and thinking that Chaz was possibly her son, which I think is very interesting. So yeah, I mean, I think these are a lot of great thoughts and a lot of different directions. I think we'll wrap this up here because there's so much to think about. I'm kind of getting overloaded with thoughts and theories, which is good. But I just want to thank you so much for being here and remind you that from now on, we'll be doing this every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you're watching this after this is no longer live, I'm trying to reply to everyone, so you can comment on the actual video with your thoughts or your own theory, and I will get back to you guys. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. This was actually so much fun, and it always is, but there's just so many different people sharing so many different thoughts, and I love that. Like, this is what makes having my channel like that worth it. Like, that's why I did this, you know. This just reminds me of that. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you who watch the center, I just want to let you know that I will be watching that and filming myself watching it live, and I will be editing that. It takes a long time to edit those, so it'll be up tonight, probably around midnight Eastern time. Thank you for all the hearts. So I will have that up for those of you who are interested, because it is the finale tonight. And there will be a center live chat at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow to talk about the finale, which I think will be very exciting if you've been keeping up with that show. But I hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you for the amazing chat, and I will talk to you guys really soon. Bye.